Hello and welcome to the Let It Brew podcast, brought to you by the London Coffee Festival. I'm Alex Dantes-Smith, and today I am joined once again by Paul Kelly from Marzocco. In this episode, recorded live here at the London Coffee Festival 2025, we'll be diving into Marzocco's rich history of collaborations across fashion, design, and specialty coffee culture. So Paul, tell me a bit about your role at Marzocco.
I opened the office here in 2012. I sold my first Marzocco 2004 with Molmar. I worked with Molmar, Ago and Enzo, and they taught me a lot. And then 2012, I came and opened the office in London. It wasn't really an office. We opened a community hub. It was really strange watching specialty start in London back then, not far from here. And it was important to give community a platform. And it was really weird because I think it's interesting with Marzocco and coffee, as you know. Coffee was kind of a subculture. It was like a lifestyle, but for a small group of people. And I think having like-minded people together, and you might have 10 in the room, 20 in the room, but you wouldn't have had much more than that because it was so new and so, and you had some major players in London before that, but it was really starting to become more than a whisper. Like a conversation, but amongst the people who knew. Started the office 2012, and then obviously we've grown. We did the first coffee festival here 2011, but 2012 it grew. So yeah, been around for a while. That's probably why I look so old and tired.
But you love it.
Of course I do.
Life of the party.
Not life of the party. I think the life and energy of the coffee industry is really special. We're far ahead, I think, in the sustainability conversation. You look at different milks and everything else as an industry. We're far ahead in terms of trying to look after the farmer because we understand it's a core product. So I think it's a great industry to be around. It lifts up your mindset around a lot of things that are impacting the world.
Got it.
COVID, baristas are out making coffees, frontline workers, really giving people an important part of their days. Some people came out of their apartments and the only person they spoke to was the barista to get their coffee, so it was really important.
Fantastic. Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, let's start with Marzocco's collaboration mindset.
It's really interesting. I think collaboration has always been part of our DNA, but really collaboration with pioneers. We're 100 years young. And the reason I say that is because we've always had that mindset. We were very small. So 2008, 2009, we went through the economy shift and we had to readdress what we were doing. And we started to go into that realm of speciality with small companies, small roasters, small individuals. So that was a collaboration in itself, right? So you're collaborating with pioneers. And our thought process back then, and it still seems the same to us, we were the people that followed the pioneers to support. We were that campaign while you're climbing Everest, we'll follow you to help you get to the summit. And I think that was really where collaboration came in. Now it means a lot of different things. From that start, it was collaborating with people who cared about coffee, cared about doing something different because it was very different back then. And that's what we wanted to support because we were trying to do things with our products that were different.
Could you tell us a little bit about like a notable early partnership? Is there one that you look back on over the years and you go, this is when it really started to become a big show for us?
It's really funny again because you're talking about a company that we've always, again, marketed from the outside in. We've never moved boxes. We try and start relationships. So we would support baristas, coffee shop owners and roasters. And I think it was one of the turning points. I think it was 2014. I was at another coffee event and I was watching Latte Art and Coffee and Good Spirits. And I sat down and no one was watching. And then a woman sat down next to me and she just wanted a seat.
Right.
And you had beautiful people really putting a lot of energy and effort into making something in a competition environment, but no one was there.
Wow.
I had a conversation with certain people and asked if we could do it. And the first people we brought in was Grey Goose. And we says, Coffee and Good Spirits, would you like to be involved? And they were like, what's this about coffee? Well, it's coffee, good spirits. And it was fascinating because that really started them being more involved. And it was great to see really good baristas and really good cocktail barmen start talking back then. So it was it was a collaboration on a mindset more than a brand with a brand. And I think that fed that environment of quality. And I think if you ask any barista, who's working with specialty coffee and working with hospitality, they love cocktails, they love bakeries, they love restaurants, they love wines, they're foodie and everything else. So to do that then is kind of an interesting process.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, nice. I like that. So La Marzocco obviously teamed up with some pretty iconic brands in design and lifestyle. Porsche, Rimowa, ALD. These are like huge brands that kind of do their own thing, right? A bit like La Marzocco. So what are the values that you see in those brands that make it something you want to pursue?
Interesting question, really, because we evaluate that a lot. And I think we're blessed and we're very humble in this because we know when we started our style of marketing, people will claim it was the best idea in the world, but I think it was more necessity. We were a very small company. We didn't have a lot of money and we were trying to work out a different way of stepping into a marketplace to support other people that didn't have money. We're a small company, guerrilla marketing or necessity, they came together. So we grew, and I think our brand is very, hopefully, everyone, very respected and very strong. But I think that's attracted to other people because, again, collabs from these companies, coffee demographic is really interesting, right? It hits a lot of age groups, it hits a lot of cultures, it hits a lot of countries. And again, we're forward thinking, sustainability, conversations around every topic that you see. And I think that's important. So we get approached. You have to make it authentic and it has to be authentic. So it's not, that's the wrong word. I shouldn't say we have to make it authentic. I say it has to be authentic. I always used to say, and I have had little to do with these other collabs. There are very brilliant people in the company that have been involved in these. But when we started back in the early days, it was always, well, who would be the La Marzocco in cycling, or who would be the La Marzocco, and try and find that DNA, mission statement, ideology match. Ideology, I don't know if you can say that. And then you work the path. And I think that's a mindset we kind of look at now is, oh, I've got this, and I've got this. Well, okay, that's great. But it's not a numbers game. And it really isn't, because again, we're at that point and we're very blessed to be at that point where we're not looking for that next moment. So if it's natural, then it should be done naturally.
And what's the process like of creating these partnerships? Like, do you just wake up one morning and go, do you know what, Porsche, that'd be nice? Or is it more of a, did they come to you? Or
in Germany, the tennis, someone asked to borrow a machine. It went into the Porsche lounge. There was a conversation that started in another conversation. And those conversations lasted 2 years, but not in a way of, how can we do this? How can it be fun? Porsche is super interesting because, again, it's a lifestyle and maybe not everyone can afford to own a Porsche, I'm sure, but people respect what Porsche do. So it's kind of that you don't have to be a millionaire to appreciate a piece of art, or should you be, and that's what's important. So I think
Porsche is a piece of art.
big time, I think it's beautiful.
100%.
So, and that's where this came from, where it could connect. So I think if there's a process, we have a lot of people asking us to do things. And then if it's a conversation around a table or over dinner or over a glass of wine or over a coffee at academia where a lot of this happens, it's kind of a thought process. And I think that's even interesting is we have these thought process conversations and then we bring people to academia. You haven't been to academia.
Still waiting for my invite. Yeah.
So academia is, it's if the factory is the legs and lungs of La Marzocco, then I would say academia is the heart and soul.
Well,
And it was the old factory, and we work with sustainability to look at, sustainable crops. We have a plantation there in a greenhouse that we're trying to look at, and it produces coffee.
okay.
And we do a lot of things. Yes, it's part of La Marzocco, but the reason it's not called La Marzocco Academia because we wanted it to be a space for everyone to come together and talk about important things. And when you have another brand come and visit, we are brand protective, but we're also open-minded. And if you're open-minded, you can start a conversation a lot easier.
Well, it shows that it's more than just an espresso machine, right?
It's so much more. Very much, but also it has to have integrity, and has to respect all of those elements of coffee, which is another fine line to walk.
Yeah. If you look at some of the partnerships you've done, is there one that surprised you, or is there one that maybe the team were unexpected? Like their reaction was like, "Oh, we're collaborating with them." What?
I think
Amazing.
all of them are special in their own way, and that's a very political statement to make. But I think what surprises us, and really where we go, we really have to protect the integrity of coffee and the partnerships, is how quickly things are sold, right? You may do machines that are sold a limited edition, say with Rimowa, probably in a few hours. But we also have to peel that back and be really have a thought process about coffee, and have a thought process about, it's not if you can afford a Rimowa, or it's not if you drive a Porsche, it's also if you go into a coffee shop and have a coffee. So that's the things that surprise us with how they traction, but also have to keep us humble and remember where we come from. I think there's a saying, and I don't know who it was, but it was an adventurer. And he used to say, the further away from home you are, the more you have to look back to remember where you come from. And I think that's a very important thing to say. We try and look back as much as we can.
That Rimowa one, when I first saw that, I was like, how did they do a collaboration with a suitcase brand?
Very much. And Stefano, the designer's here. He's a genius, a work of art. And I mean, that's a beautiful story as well. Piero, who sadly passed away in 2020. The last machine he designed was the PB.
Okay.
And he was always trying to see what the succession would look like. And Stefano used to do drawings on his desk.
Right.
And Piero used to pick them up and look at them, but he wasn't there to be a designer. And then one day he was invited into the office to see Piero and Guido, and I think he thought he was going to get fired. And they said, look, we love what you do. Would you like to work with Piero a bit more? And I think that really helped Piero feel that there was someone else who was going to take on the pressure and the beauty of designing coffee machines.
God, there must be some amazing stories behind a lot of these.
Oh, very much. But again, we hope we're seeing that we have a love for what we do, and we love everyone around what we do internally and externally. You know, coffee machines are the fireplaces now of the world, where people stand around them and tell stories. You know, to be part of that is something I feel, very proud to be, and I'm sure you do.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah. What have you learned over the years about what makes a truly exceptional collaboration?
I was going to say patience.
That's like too easy.
Yeah, that's too easy. I think the passion of people involved has to be consistent. And, that's really important to do that. And I think that's an integral part. I know Daisy from a Coffee Arabica always used to say it's about consistency, and all we do is about consistency, right? It's about the consistency of product, the consistency of the relationship, the consistency of the supply. But I think in a collab, we have to be consistent in the conversations to get to a point where we're all at the same point. Because if there's a misalignment, it doesn't look honest and it won't work.
Yeah. Is there anything as like a dream collaboration for you personally?
You could drop many situations and many names. And I just think whatever's out there where people feel engaged, and it's not, again, a political question, but where you enjoy the process. We've been in this industry a long time. I've been in this industry a long time. And so it's very important to enjoy what you do. And I think if there's anything out there, or anyone out there that we work with, if the DNA and the mission is aligned, then yeah, of course we want to do. But I don't wake up every morning and go, that's the one or that's the one. I just, whatever comes naturally.
Okay. And is there anything coming in the future that you're able to allude to or share with us right now?
Again, because we are very natural about this process and organic about this process, we have things that we talk about, but again, we don't say about them or do anything, because they could be gone in a second, because you get a bad feeling or something's not right, so you step back. So I think it would do a disservice to anyone if he said anything, but that's not because we're trying to keep it secret. It's because our thought process is a way that we want to keep them special. But also, the biggest collab is with coffee, right? The biggest collab is with farmers. The biggest collab is keeping this industry alive. and keep this core product of coffee in the conversation so people learn. The cafes and roasters are going through difficult times at the moment because of the coffee price and everything else. So our collab should be about education.
This has been fascinating. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Always
a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, never a chore. You've been listening to the Let It Brew podcast, brought to you by the London Coffee Festival with me, Alex Dantes-Smith. If you enjoyed this podcast, please remember to subscribe on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. Until next time.